Hello, Dijon here. In the comics portion of episode 132 of the Mustercast, we go over what comics we've been reading lately and review chapters 1 and 2 of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Please enjoy. But yeah, moving on to comics. Ira, why don't you start us off with what you've been reading lately?
Okay. Still reading Claymore. Claymore is great. No notes on that. And Helsing. Helsing is also great. No notes on that. There's another thing that I was thinking of that I had read like on my own time, and it wasn't a manga, but I can't remember what. Oh, I reread the graphic novel for A Wrinkle in Time for the first time in a really, really long time. And I forgot how good of an adaptation that is, especially for like, A Wrinkle in Time is not like a very dense book, but it's hard. It would be hard to translate over into like a visual medium like a graphic novel, but the graphic novel for it does such a good job, and it's making me want to reread the actual novel again because it's been a really long time. I love the Time Quintet; it's great. And then another thing that we will also discuss later, but
Secret third thing. How about you, Brie?
secret third thing, yes.
I'm still working on my shoot, what is it called? Oh, Way of the House Husband and my huge pack. Like it's like a set of I think 10 books of Princess Jellyfish. I'm
Whoa,
nowhere
what's
near
that about?
finishing that, but that's um so they do have an anime. The anime was the first thing I watched, and then I was like, man, I really have to like read the manga, but like I never read it for years until like one of my friends bought me the 10 pack, like the 10 set for my birthday. And basically it's about essentially finding yourself and like I don't know, it's like a coming of age kind of manga, but I don't know. It's like so if you think about how we were in like middle school, high school, it's kind of like that. But it's like teaching you to like really accept yourself and like how to blossom as a person, how to like forge like your friendships and whatnot. I don't know, it's very like near and dear to me. It taught me how to be who I am today, if I'm completely honest. Like, you could be weird, but weird with style.
Yeah, that looks
Maybe I
cool.
should grab a book and, like, read what it's talking about, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
very
I think that was a
pretty,
good
very
explanation.
cute.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome.
Anything else?
Well, that's about it.
Okay. How about you, Christian? You been reading anything lately?
As far as comics,
Any kind of books,
no,
really.
but as far as yeah, but in general, in regards to books, it's a Haruki Murakami collection of short stories called Men Without Woman. And one of the first stories in the book is titled Drive My Car, which the South Korean film is based off of. So I'm slowly, surely making my way through that. And yeah, the way that he describes opening the door or getting water from a faucet, it it's very prose like, and he injects that prose in everything. Like nobody just moves their hair; they delicately maneuver their hair strand. It's like the way that he is poetic in his writing is very cool.
I'm just imagining
So
that scene in Death Note. I took a chip and I ate it.
no, for real, like, and it's that type of style. And like it's very musical the way that he writes. So making my way through that. Also it's another book that I haven't gotten yet, but it's in my like wish list. The name of it is Jackson Rising. And it's kind of more into like the socioeconomic lane. And it's him talking about doing grassroots work in Jackson, Mississippi. And that book was definitely on my radar for a minute because like often the question is like, oh, like in regards to infrastructure or environment stuff, like what's going on in Memphis or what was going on in Prince George's County with that AI site being threatened to be built. It's like, what do we do after that? And he was like, I have a solution. And it's like a full on like eco socialist manifesto. And it's like the tightest, coolest, like community based work book. So I'm planning on getting that soon. And yeah, I'm just going to be reading a lot of prose based stuff and community organizing stuff. And yeah, that's mainly what's been in my literature lane for the most part.
Yeah, that sounds dope. I love the diversity of what we're all reading.
I know.
Because what I'm going to
Yeah.
start off with is Game Informer, like it's goddamn 2008. Um, yeah, so
Oh, Game Informer?
Game Informer, they went under and then they came back. They're now independent, and I subscribed, and I've been getting them, and I got the third one, and the most recent, the cover issue. I got home from work, saw it on my step, I saw the cover, and I was like, oh, it's Yakumo, the main character of Ninja Gaiden 4. And I was so excited. I was like, ooh, I'm going to read this Ninja Gaiden 4 cover story. And then I'm flipping through the pages. And then behind the Ninja Gaiden 4 cover story, as great as it was, great article. And damn, let me go grab it actually so I can say the name of the person who wrote it.
Man, I remember I used to get Game Informer like delivered to our door. Like my dad had a subscription. I just thought it was just something that popped up in the mail. I didn't know it was like an actual subscription. But I loved getting them. I think I saved majority of them,
Oh, I have.
but they're like back in my parents.
I have almost all of mine. Like when it went under, I went and like pulled them all out and I bought some containers for them because I was like, I gotta preserve these. And then I bought some like last few ones, that I was interested in. It is
I had this.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, I had the same experience. My dad had a subscription, and I thought it was just the state of Maryland just giving us these game magazines. I did not know it was a subscription at all. Um, but yeah, like as a physical medium, I remember having like the Batman Arkham City issue. That
Oh,
was like one of my
same.
favorite. It was one of my favorite issues because it was that white cover
Yeah, I remember
and
that
like
one.
yeah, yeah. Like I didn't know that they came back. That's cool.
Yeah. So this
I didn't know that either.
article is written by Brian Shea. And yeah, it was great, hearing about the game's development. I enjoyed that. But I'm already as hype as I can be for that game, so there wasn't really much they could do in that department. But directly after that was an article about Mina the Hollower with an interview from the game director at Yacht Club Games. And I was already excited for this game. But now my excitement is almost Ninja Gaiden 4 levels. I played a demo of this game a few weeks back. Talk about it with Aiara. This is a game from the Shovel Knight developers, their first new IP in a decade. And it's kind of like a combination of those old isometric Zelda games and Castlevania. And the mechanics go way deeper than I ever could have imagined, which is why my excitement has been boosted. And it releases Halloween Day. Just 9 days. Not even 9 days, actually. 9 days after Ninja Gaiden 4. But yeah, in terms of comics, I'm reading some... still reading the same three manga. I'm reading Chojin X. I'm reading Chainsaw Man. I'm reading Kagurabachi. Kagurabachi is so good. It lived up to the memes. It's so good. And I'm pretty sure it's been... has it been announced as an anime adaptation? I think I heard that somewhere. I don't know if that was a rumor or if it was official. But it's gonna get an anime adaptation. That's just... It's inevitable. And Godspeed to whatever anime studio they choose, because they got a task ahead of them. Because the fights in this are pure cinema. I'm excited. And it was the Chainsaw Man. The movie comes out pretty soon, sometime in October. Chojin X is a series by the creator of Tokyo Ghoul, and that's been really good. In terms of American comics, I started reading or finishing, or I reread it from the beginning because it had been a while. Angela, Assassin of Asgard, because Angela was added to Marvel Rivals, and I became obsessed with her a couple years ago. So when they added her, I was like, yes, my obsession is paid off. So I decided to finish this comic. So I'm in the middle of that. I read Radiant Black number 33. You don't know what Radiant Black is? It's essentially the creator describes it as Invincible meets Power Rangers. It's meant to be kind of like a Power Rangers style story, but with like the storytelling style of Invincible, but it's nowhere near as violent. But yeah, that's the only indie comic I've read lately. I am reading a few. I just haven't read any in a while. In terms of Marvel, the Ultimates number 15 or 14 and 15, Imperial number 3, as well as the tie-in comics for Black Panther, She-Hulk, and the Exiles. I read Marvel Knights: The World to Come issue number 2 in Aiara. The people were right. Wakanda's white son. Black Panther's white son is weird, and I don't like this comic anymore.
Wait, what? What
That's
son?
a crazy. That's a crazy.
So-
that's a wild sentence.
In this comic, Black Panther adopted a white son, and now that white son is trying to steal the throne from T'Challa. And so here's the thing: the first issue was good, and I liked it, and I was like, okay, let me see where this goes. And then I read the second issue. I was like, okay, never mind. I don't need to see where this goes. It's weird. The problem is, I'm gonna finish it. I'm just no longer gonna buy it physically. I'm gonna wait till it hits the apps, and then I'm gonna read it there, because I'm morbidly curious now where this story's gonna go. And if they could even the writing's weird. It's strange. I can't remember the character's name, but is it Ross? Everett Ross, maybe? The character that
it says biological father. Yeah, Everett Ross.
Yeah, Everett Ross. The dude that was played by Bilbo Baggins. From The Hobbit. Wow. I forget that actor's name. He played them in the Black Panther movies.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah, Martin Freeman.
I think.
The only white man in those movies. That's Everett Ross. And they made him weirdly racist in this. I don't know why. I haven't read a lot of Black Panther comics. So I can only base what I know about him from the movies. And I feel like the point of his character is he's supposed to be the white guy that's invited to the cookout because he's cool. But they're making him racist in this. And it's weird. Like racist in a very specific, like passive aggressive ways. It's unfortunate.
Ooh, not the microaggressions.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
worse, I think, than him being like outwardly racist.
Yes.
Because it means whoever's doing the writing had to know what a microaggression is. And while I will give them the benefit, no, they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt.
They don't deserve that at all. One of them's black.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
One of those writers is black, by the way.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
so probably has experienced microaggressions, but that other writer, I'm like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just what do you know?
You're telling. Right.
So
What
it's
do
like,
you know? What have you told people of color?
Who came up with the idea of the white sun? I'm so stuck on.
I
that.
know it's a wild.
Right.
It's
just like.
Yeah, I also read Ultimate Spider-Man number 19, and I'm still got a little bit of that stack of comics that I showed you guys last week to get through. In terms of DC comics, I read Birds of Prey number 24, Absolute Superman number 10, Poison Ivy number 35, Cheetah and Cheshire Rob the Justice League number 1, Nightwing issues 123, 124, Absolute Batman 11, Batman Dark Patterns number 9, Action Comics 1089, Supergirl number 4, and Fire and Ice When Hell Freezes Over number 5. Always reading a lot of comics, Christian. I'm reading so many comics all the time.
Mhm.
But yeah, well, Wonder Woman: The Amazons, Wonder Woman: Story of the Amazons was the last book we read. It was 3 issues, written by Kelly DeConnick. But today we are starting our journey on Tom King and Billy Cass Evely's Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Like I said, written by Tom King with pencils and inks by Billy Cass Evely. The colors are by Matthias Lopez. Letters by Clayton Cowles. The cover by Evelyn Lopez, and edited by Brittany Hauser and James S. Rich. Quick synopsis of the first 2 issues. Kara Zor-El has seen some epic adventures over the years, but finds her life without meaning or purpose. Here she is, a young woman who saw her planet destroyed and was sent to Earth to protect a baby cousin who ended up not needing her. What was it all for? Wherever she goes, people only see her through the lens of Superman's fame. Just when Supergirl thinks she's had enough, everything changes. An alien girl seeks her out for a vicious mission. Her world has been destroyed, and the bad guys responsible are still out there. She wants revenge, and if Supergirl doesn't help her, she'll do it herself, whatever the cost. Now a Kryptonian, a dog, and an angry, heartbroken child head out into space on a journey that will shake them to their very core. And for issue number 2, after the shocking conclusion of the last issue, Supergirl and her new friend Ruthie, find themselves stranded with no way to pursue Krim, the murderous King's agent. Each moment this fugitive roams free, the more beings become dangerously close to dying by his hand. There's no time to lose, so our heroes must now travel across the universe the old-fashioned way, by cosmic bus. Little do they know, their journey will be a dark one filled with terrors that not even the Maid of Might is prepared to face. Can Kara Zor-El lie low long enough to ensure their safe passage? So as usual, we like to start with the art. As far as I know, I believe this is my first experience back when I read this a couple years ago with Billy Cass Evely's art, as brought to life by the colors by Matthias Lopez. And it was the second issue in particular that really opened my eyes to how talented these two are. With that scene where Supergirl uses red kryptonite to turn herself into a phoenix and kill a space dragon. That's right, Christian. In fact, I took some screenshots. I think I'll send those in the chat. And I'm real excited to
Say it out
see
loud, it sounds crazy.
Yeah,
how.
that's the coolest
Yeah.
sequence of words.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how they adapt it for the movie. But yeah, what did you
Oh,
guys?
that's crazy looking.
Yeah, what did you guys
Wow, that's cool.
think of the art?
Thought it was gorgeous.
It's so
I like
beautiful.
I like that Supergirl, like I like that everyone, not even just Supergirl, but like everyone has such a soft face, but like it really contrasts with like kind of the violence that's that like is the crux of the narrative, and I think that's like a really interesting visual thing that they did there, even if it's not purposeful.
Yeah, it was very hard to like pick what screenshots I like to send in the chat
I'm
because
glad
like
you
everything
didn't
is
send
so
those.
aesthetically. Yeah, no. Everything that's so aesthetically pleasing. I was like, I feel like I shouldn't send Dragon one. Yeah, I feel like I should be like, very, very chill on what I send. But these, oh my gosh, the colors, it's like they don't like bash each other. Like it's not muddled together at all. Everything is very distinct and then, like it sits on each other like very nicely. Even like the text, it's not cluttered. It's very easy to read. Like oh my gosh, so inspired.
Very refreshing after reading that old comic with that old text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other moments visually stuck out to you guys? Because I know you sent some images. If you guys want to look at the images that Bree sent, you can go to the comics channel.
I really like the scenes where she was fighting in the bar. Like it's very hard to like illustrate fighting, but like everything was very cohesive. Like there was like a flow to it, so you could tell what exactly was going on. I really like those panels, and like the one where she's like standing over the guy, and you just see Crypto in the back. Gorgeous.
Yeah, to quickly kind of explain that situation. The story itself is written by Tom King, and is very wordy by modern comic standards. The narrator, who is one of the lead characters, Ruthie, is narrating the story from the future, recounting her adventures with Supergirl, and she is extremely verbose, and that can make this a bit of a tough read at times. But for better or for worse, this is Tom King's MO. He loves to tell stories through the narration of a character who witnessed the actions of the lead character, and I personally enjoy it when it's done in moderation in a shorter story like this, as opposed to his current ongoing run of Wonder Woman, which has sparked a lot of very specific controversies that we've talked about before, and I'll bring back up when we're at the very end of this comic. But in the first issue, it's all set up with Ruthie narrating the circumstances that led to her meeting Supergirl. Her family took in a man named Krem of the Yellow Hills, who then killed her father and ran away. And then Ruthie leaves her family farm to hire a mercenary to kill Krem, where she comes across Supergirl and Krypto, who have come to this planet to celebrate Supergirl's 21st birthday under a red sun, which saps her powers so she can get drunk. And after saving Ruthie from being robbed, Ruthie decides to, she decides that Supergirl is the best option of mercenary and follows her back to her ship, insisting that she help her. When Krim shows up and shoots Supergirl with an arrow. because the man who attempted to rob Ruthie but was thwarted by Supergirl went and snitched. Um, and then Crypto, of course, being Crypto, goes to attack him, but Crypto doesn't know that he doesn't have powers, and he gets shot by an arrow. But that arrow is poison tipped, as revealed in the second issue. And in anger, Supergirl, no powers, still catches a sword with her hand and just beats the shit out of him, causing Krim to run away in fear and board Supergirl's ship, which was preparing to take off. And it just automatically takes off, and he shoots off in her rocket. And this second issue follows their intergalactic bus travel to a solar system with a yellow sun, so that Supergirl can get her powers back and go and find Krim to get a sample of the poison he used on Crypto, so that they can make an antidote. But Supergirl doesn't remember what he looks like, so she's bringing Ruthie along. But yeah,
Okay, so Crypto isn't like, dead or anything. He's just like gravely wounded.
yeah, he's just
Okay, I was very scared because I feel like if he did pass, this could have went like very, very differently.
oh man, Superman comics would
Yeah.
change forever. Also,
Right?
something I thought they might do, but I don't think they will, was maybe replace Crypto in the movie with Sparky. Yes, I think Sparky, the super cat. Supergirl has a cat that also has superpowers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought they might do that, but no. It seems like they're still going to use Crypto. They did introduce him in the Superman movie, so it makes sense. They didn't have him show up in that movie just to not have him show up in the other movie based off of the comic where he's one of the main characters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah,
I think for me,
yeah, go ahead.
oh,
I was just going to ask you, what did you
I
think of the
really
story
did-
anyway?
I really enjoyed how verbose. Of course, her name escapes me,
Ruthie.
and I just reread the comic this morning to make sure.
It's spelled
What was it?
weird. It's spelled weird, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Ruthie.
Yeah, Ruthie. I like how verbose she is, especially compared to Supergirl. And also, I was going into this expecting like Supergirl to be like just Superman but a girl, but I like that she's a little bit of a crash out, a burnout. Like I like that
That
she's
is-
relatively normal compared to him.
All of the
And-
worst Supergirl stories are the one where they just write her as Superman but a girl. That is a big criticism
Yeah, like,
of the Supergirl TV show that was on CW, is that people enjoy it for what it is, but people who are like hardcore into Supergirl comics don't like that show because they literally just make her Superman but a girl, because I think they actually wanted it to
girl.
be a Superman show, but they couldn't for whatever reason. And to the point to where she works as a reporter, which is not a thing that Supergirl does. She's not a reporter, but they literally
That's
make her
insane.
basically her identity is basically kind of Clark Kent, and she's, as Supergirl, behaves like Superman, which is just not who she is.
No, she's literally an alcoholic. Like,
Right.
Well, it was her birthday. She turned 21. She was celebrating.
yeah, but depression.
Well, when your planet blows up.
Yeah, it's like there's
Exactly.
there's a very much like an air of sadness about her that like you don't get from Superman, and I thought that was really a really fascinating angle to play it from.
Yeah, like they mentioned at one point, Ruthie says in her, very, very brisk dialogue, that Supergirl, she was comparing herself to Supergirl, and how Supergirl, she grew up on Krypton. She was a teenager when it exploded. So unlike Superman, she got to actually experience life with her family, and Superman's parents are her aunt and uncle and her friends, and she went to school and she experienced that culture, and then it was gone. So she's a very sad person as a result.
Like in the comics, they perfectly illustrate how lost in thought she is. Like she always has like her eyes closed and like, I don't know, it's just quiet sometimes. I'm like, girl, I don't think therapy can help at this point.
Yeah,
And she's also like much quicker.
It's like, I don't know how you stayed a superhero, but me,
Yeah, she's also much quicker to violence than Superman is. Like you said, she's a crash out. Like somebody messes with her, she immediately punches them in the face. There's no questions, there's no talking. But then there was that moment of kindness where, when when she discovers that Ruthie doesn't wash her hands, she doesn't get upset. She doesn't get angry. And Ruthie says, "Let me go to the page." It says, "And it began." As most things begin when you're dealing with Supergirl, with a moment of kindness. She finds out that for the month that they've been traveling, Ruthie does not wash her hands because she just doesn't do that where she comes from, because they have like limited water. Um, and then she goes, "Okay, that's fine. Come here. I'm gonna show you how to wash your hands." Because
I thought that was so sweet.
that's an aspect
Yeah.
that's an aspect of a character that she does share with Superman. It's just that almost infinite kindness.
And it's like I like that they managed to make her a crash out without her killing it. Because a lot of like comics and just media in general will have a crash out, but the crash out just kills for no reason. And I'm like, that's not fun. You're not a crash out at that point. You're just a serial killer. Like you're in it for the love of the game. But the fact that she knows the own limit, like the limits to her power and like how much force she can apply before someone breaks, I think that's really interesting.
And also the fact that she doesn't need her powers to beat shit out of people.
That too.
Because for the vast majority of both of these issues, she doesn't have her powers until the very, very end. But yeah, this is going to be, it's weird to say because I was like, it's not really technically, I don't know if it's technically a longer read or not, because I guess it is actually, now I think about it, because this is 9 issues, I believe. That was 8 because we're reading 2, and another 2. So it's technically a bit longer than Historia, but Historia individual chapters are longer than normal, issues of the comic book, whereas these are closer to the normal length of the issue of a comic book issue. But yeah, I'm really excited to just the whole point of this was for me to just have people to talk to comics about, but also to expose you guys to some American comics and some kind of like landmark stories. But we're at the beginning of this, so I don't want to start talking about what's after this too much. But after this, we're gonna get into something that I know you guys are interested in, especially Bree, rather than something I just feel like you guys need to read, which is Absolute Batman, which will be very exciting. And if you want to be a part of that, Christian,
I was gonna say,
let me know.
Read it so bad. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've been seeing crazy stuff about Absolute Batman, like on the internet in my travels. I don't know this thing that I've seen is spoilers, so I'm not gonna say it, but it's a design for a character, and I'm like, that's wild.
Yeah, any last thoughts before we move on?
Seeing this art makes me want to draw like it. Like, oh, I want to redraw a panel so bad.
How do you even conceptualize art like this?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the level of craft to get to this point. I'm just imagining that, looking at these frames.
Yeah, and like the colorist, man, Matthias Lopez. Like,
Yeah.
people don't talk enough, I feel like, about the fact that with American comics, Japanese comics, they're black and white, so there's nobody coloring them, and it's just some incredible hatchwork by the manga artist. But with American comics, there's oftentimes a colorist in addition to the person doing the pencils and the inks, who is the person who ultimately brings everything to life. Like things are like you have to, coloring is only as good as the line work at the end of the day. But at the same time, when they work together, you get this. You get this beautiful mix
Yeah.
of oranges and purples and yellows to make this Supergirl Phoenix fighting a space dragon, which also just the inherent sci-fi-ness of this, it feels like Star Wars almost in a lot of ways, where in this comic they're just on a space bus stopping at rest stops to grab lunch.
It reminded me a lot of what's that comic? Aquaman Andromeda, which I read a really, really long time ago and really, really liked. I like the kind of Star Warsy sci-fi, like space bus, I guess you could call it, comics a lot, methinks. Those are some of my favorites so far that I've experienced.
Yeah, Andromeda was very cosmic horror, so it had that element of sci-fi, but underwater.
Which I think we should do a read of that later on down the line at some point, because I really like that comic and I would like an excuse to read it again.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Nice.
Type that in the comic chat so I can remember it.
Write that down. But I feel like someone really studied their color theory, because I don't know, you see comics and like you see them just slap the colors on there and like you're trying to like distinguish between what is like the Wonder Woman Historia. Like there were moments where like it was very colorful and it was nice, but like it was kind of hard to look at. You had to like kind of just zoom in. This is very straightforward in its coloring, and it all just sits so nicely.
For
Mm,
sure. And then it's like
yeah.
super, super colorful without managing to be like way too oversaturated and like almost candy like, I like to describe like work like
Great
that, where it's like
example.
super, super colorful, but like no substance. It's like candy. This feels more like a sweet treat, but not something that'll give me cavities, like visual cavities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Visual cavities.
Sure can.
But yeah, great comic. I'm excited to read more. You're moving on to
Sure.
TV and film. Christian, why don't you kick us off? About what you've been watching.